That's live.
Okay, we'll get ready to proceed. We have a fair number of images tonight, and it looks like the people of home haven't gotten to see things. Okay. No, you could flip the screen back. We will. Okay, we will get ready now to start the competition. And tonight is our nature and pictorial. Our judges tonight, first judge, let me make sure for the people at home, let me just make sure we're broadcasting. Yes, we are. Our first judge, Amy Horowitz. Dr. Horowitz is an environmental biologist. He has visited many countries, exploring and photographing various environments and their flora and fauna. He has been a nature photographer since he was a teenager. And Amy is a longtime guest and judge for the Cleveland Photographic Society. Rob Knight is a travel and nature photographer and has been a professional artist for almost 30 years. He's been a photographer for more than half that time and an educator since 2010. Rob is an Olympus educator, Tenba visual artist, and a Narbox Pro, and is an Adobe certified expert in Photoshop Lightroom. Rob is best known for his destination photo workshops, his easygoing teaching style, and informative critiques. He enjoys teaching in a classroom but prefers more hands-on learning offered by working with students on location. Rob founded Creative Immersion Photography Workshops, which offer workshops in Costa Rica and U.S. destinations like Route 66 and coastal Maine. And our third judge is Joe Applebaum, who most of you know. Joe is a retired photography and art teacher who spent most of his career at the Brecksville Broadview Heights High School. During 1 year, he realized he had examined about 50,000 images on proof sheets. He has spent a career trying to help students understand what makes a photograph good. He has several students who are now working in the field, including some who have had their journalism images presented in the New York Times, and one student recognized for her video work on The Deadliest Catch. Joe has been a photographer for 40 years, participating in many shows and contests, and has shot weddings, parties, and portraits for years. So, without further ado, let us start our images for tonight. We will start with nature.
Let's test the mic is on.
Yep, mic is on.
Okay, Rob says, this is a nice composition and a good balance of dark and light tones. The grain in the dark area in the background is a bit distracting. It may be better in this case to leave the area dark instead of lightening the shadows and highlighting the noise.
The image is called Two Blue Martins by Maria Diaconou, 20 points. We may have, hang on, may have an issue here. And we're just trying to sync up the comments with the images. Bill, is that your image? Bill Keaton?
Yeah, Bill, do you know the name of the,
Yes,
Is
that's
this
my image. and I
after
think
the storm?
The problem is you've got the no comments mixed in with comments. So I don't know.
do you know the title of the image so we could find it on the,
After the storm?
After the storm.
Yeah, these are no comment. Are we commenting on all of them, or?
No.
No? All right. You've got the no comments?
I have them all in order. You have them, Mike?
I've got the results here. There's comments and no comment images, so we can just go through these with no comment till we hit the comment ones.
Okay.
Hang on one second. What's your first comment image? Anatomy of a cave, right? Okay. So, you want us to do that then? Just go through the no comment images. As soon as we get to the comments, then they'll read?
Okay, if we know the title, could we look in the comments to see if there's a comment there? So in other words, we know this is after the storm, and in the comments section, is there an after the storm? If not, then there's no comment on it.
There's no comment on this.
No comment on this one? Okay, so we'll just,
All right.
Usually, Randy doesn't seem to divide it. I don't know what.
They're divided on this sheet, but the comments are, the pages that they're reading from are only showing comment images, not no comment images. At least the one that Chris has. Dennis, did you have, what's your first one on your sheet?
Anatomy of a cave.
Okay, all right, then let's, I'll just go through the no comments. As soon as I hit the comment images, then we'll start with having them read. Okay?
okay.
So that first image was Two Blue Martins by Maria Diaconou, 20 points. The next image, After the Storm by Bill Keaton, 23 points, honorable mention. This is called American Bald Eagle by Andrew Guroy, 19 points. Avocet Reflecting by Gary Wood, 23 points, honorable mention. Blue Fish by Mike Kopkis, 22 points, honorable mention. Blue Ridge Layers by Dave Korosek, 25 points, second place. Calling Red-Winged Blackbird by Paul Giglia, 22 points, honorable mention. Chinese Hibiscus by Marge Brady, 23 points, honorable mention. Cotton Grass by Marge Brady, 20 points. Craig Osprey by Gary Merrick, 22 points, honorable mention. Deep Woods Honeysuckle by Valdez Krebs, 19 points. Dragonfly by Rich Foley, 22 points, honorable mention. First Light at Glacier National Park by Bob Kowaleski, 19 points. Garden in Tucson by Charles Kay, 17 points. Goose Chase by Nancy Murniak, 21 points. Grasshopper by Margot Wethington, 20 points. Green Tree Python by Joe Smith, 24 points, third place. Heliconius Butterfly by Susan Bestel, 24 points, third place. Heron Silhouette by Catherine Kengott, 23 points, honorable mention. I Got My Eyes on You by Rich Foley, 20 points. King of the Prairie by Bill Keaton, 24 points, third place. Kingbird Snack by John Harford, 23 points, honorable mention. Light in the Swamp by David Grimmer, 22 points, honorable mention. Lone Lily by Margot Wethington, 20 points. Lunchtime by Randy Johns, 24 points, third place. Mammoth Hot Spring Terraces by Maria Diaconou, 18 points. McCullough Peaks Wild Horses by Jackie Sieski, 22 points, honorable mention. Monkey in the Wild, India by Richard Ader, 24 points, third place. Natural Abstract by Brian O'Riordan, 23 points, honorable mention. Nectar Collector by Belinda Prinz, 22 points, honorable mention. Owl by Andrew Guroy, 19 points. Palms by Randy Johns, 17 points. Pear David's Deer from the Wilds, Jen Cockrell, 17 points. Pondscape by John Paganini, 19 points. Portrait of Summer by Jane Sidney, 19 points. Putting on the Brakes by Dennis Wirt, 23 points, honorable mention. Red Tail Hawk with Breakfast by Paul Giglia, 22 points, honorable mention. Red Pole on Sunflower by Dave Saborik, 21 points. Rhododendron by Joseph Miko, 18 points. Sandhill Crane versus Osprey by Gary Merrick, 19 points. Screech Owl by Mike Kopkis, 19 points. Soco Falls, North Carolina by Dave Korosek, 24 points, third place. Sunset at Alabama Hills by Bob Kowaleski, 21 points. Tending the Nest by Donna Schneider, 26 points, first place. The Three Amigos by David Grimmer, 25 points, second place. Waiting for Mama by Jerry Pano, 24 points, third place. Wildflowers by Eric Wethington, 20 points. Wildflowers, Wild Country by Brian O'Riordan, 21 points. Woodpecker Feeding His Sons by Dave Saborik, 24 points, third place. Worker Bee by Jane Sidney, 20 points. Yellow Legs Reflection by Eric Botsky, 20 points. Yucca Blooms by Kenneth Hubal, 19 points. And now we start the comment images.
Anatomy of a Cave.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. Rob says, nice composition and a good balance of dark and light tones. The gray in the dark area in the foreground is a bit distracting. It may be better in this case to leave the area dark instead of lightening the shadows and highlighting the noise.
Anatomy of a Cave by Joe DiStefano, 21 points.
Ami says, this is an interesting photograph of a bird where the subject looks directly at the camera. It gives the feeling as of challenging the photographer.
The image is called Bird on a Tree by Eric Wethington, 19 points.
Joe says this is a nice use of color and light. I'm not crazy about the cropping. I would like some more black and maybe a bit less stem. I think that would help the balance and make the negative space interesting too.
The image is called Calla Lily by Chris Bosworth, 20 points.
Rob comments, the subject and details are very interesting. Cropping the image so that the subject is not in the center of the frame can create a more dynamic composition.
The image is called Cornflower by Joseph Miko, 20 points.
Ami says, this is an impressive presentation of the flower. It is done very well. The whites are almost perfect with no overexposing, and the shadows have enough light to see details. Well done.
The image is called Dahlia by Susan Bestel, 20 points.
Joe said this is a good capture and focus. I want to turn him a bit for an even better angle, perhaps make it a square image, but I'm not sold on that.
The image is called Diverting Toward Target by Gary Wood, 21 points.
Rob says, this is an interesting idea, and I like the close cropped composition. A darker background via different shooting position or darkening in post could help the subject pop.
The image is called Flamingo by Jill Zabka, 20 points.
Ami says, an excellent positioning of the hummingbird. The frontal details as well as the overall lighting is very good. I also like the muted background and the wavy branch. The only drawback is lack of sharpness on the tail, and I assume that under these light conditions, it is next to impossible to achieve.
The image is called Hummingbird in Tucson by Charles Kay, 22 points, honorable mention.
You caught a good moment in time, Joe said. The interaction between the horses is great. Might be cropped a bit too close in. The white on the horse needs to be brought down some.
The image is called Love Unbridled by Dennis Wirt, 18 points.
Scenic shots like this rely on dramatic lighting, says Rob. Shooting here at the beginning or the end of the day could take advantage of more directional light to create depth and drama.
The image is called Mile High View by Nancy Murniak, 19 points.
Ami says this is a brilliant way to present a flower with its details. I like the positioning of the flower, not showing the whole flower. However, although showing half a flower is interesting, I personally would enlarge the space on the left to make sure not to cut a couple of petals in the center. I also would like to see the bottom and top petals in focus.
The image is Pink Curls by Fran Marino, 19 points.
Joe said, you caught a good expression. Good job of focus, and I like the shallow depth of field. I would like to see the face less centered and see some deeper blacks in the image.
The image is called Red Panda by Eric Botsky, 19 points.
Rob says, the light and color here is obviously very beautiful. This image could be more successful with the inclusion of a focal point or point of interest, such as a boat, tall or intersecting tree, etc.
The image is called Sunset at the Lake by Kenneth, is it Uball or Hubble? Hubble, thank you. Sunset at the Lake by Kenneth Hubble, 21 points.
Ami says, the American bison is a mighty animal. This presentation makes it even more real as it comes out of the muted background, given almost a three-dimensional appearance. I also like the position of the bison and especially the sharp details throughout the animal.
The image is called Taunting Bison Yellowstone by Jackie Sieski, 19 points.
Joe said it's an interesting looking image. Almost looks like a group of insects flying. It seems to be over sharpened and pixelated, floating a bit too much in the image.
Orchid from the Cleveland Orchid Show by Jen Cockrell, 16 points.
Rob comments, the inclusion of a background element can sometimes make a composition more interesting. In this case, I believe a cleaner frame without the tree trunk or branch behind the tiger might be more effective.
The image is called Tiger in the Wild, India by Richard Ader, 18 points.
Ami says, my first impression of this photograph was that this is as personal as one can get to a crab. Details and sharpness of the crab are great. The position of the claw resembles a big smile. The blurriness of the background adds to the clarity of the subject.
The image is called Tiny Sand Crab by Joe Smith, 22 points, honorable mention.
Joe said, this is a nice capture of some old-fashioned roses. I like the dark background, but would also like to see some of the whites brought down, maybe a little bit lighter on the leaves.
The image is called Wild Roses in the Forest by Valdis Krebs, 19 points. And that concludes the nature part of the competition.
Right, and since we've moved along now and we have less in the pictorial, let's just take a 3-minute breakdown. Okay, we'll start to regather and get ready for the pictorial section. Okay. Wait for everyone to gather here. Okay, and we'll get underway now with the pictorial. Okay, our first image.
We're going to start with the no comment images, and then when we hit the comments, I will let you know.
Okay, no
Correct?
comment images first.
Okay.
Our first image.
So the first image is called The Leaf's Point of View by Fran Marino, 19 points. The image is called Alluring by Fran Marino, 22 points, honorable mention. Hang on one second. We got another dispute between the what my sheet says and what their sheet says as to comments or no comments.
Okay.
Do you have either of those on yours, Dennis?
I have alluring, is that,
Yeah, that.
The
What about
image-
A Leaf's Point of View?
yeah, a leaf's point of view I have.
There were comments on
They were,
those?
well, on this sheet it said no comments, but they've got comments on their
Okay,
sheet. So do you
why
want to
don't-
do all the
why don't
comments
we
on
do-
pictorial?
Why don't we do this then, so we get use of all the comments, is when we go to the picture here, just announce the name, A Leaf's Point of View, and look it up on the comment sheet. If there's a comment there, we'll do that, and then, but saying A Leaf's Point of View will let him know where to look.
All right, well, this is A Leaf's Point of View.
A Leaf's Point of View.
Interesting composition, says Rob, and the exposure highlights the colors beautifully. A composition that included more foreground leaves and fewer houses could feel a bit more refined.
So again, that was A Leaf's Point of View by Fran Marino, 19 points. This one is called Alluring.
Ami says, subject arrangement and the soft coloration gives this picture the quality of a fairy tale subject. Lighting is also very appropriate and adds to quality. The position of the left hand of the subject is closer to the camera and it distorts the size proportion. Unless it was intended to do that, I would keep the raised left hand, but place the left hand at the same plane as the rest of the body.
Again, the image is Alluring by Fran Marino, 22 points, honorable mention. The next image is Arches Colonnade.
Joe said, you did a nice job of capturing repetition and depth. The image looks a little too cyan to me, especially with the really warm yellows on the front columns. I would consider cropping them off.
The image is Arches Colonnade by Dennis Wirt, 22 points, honorable mention. This image is called Banana Flower Pod.
Rob says, the color and tones here are excellent. I think a different frame, though capture or cropping, might present these elements in a more dynamic way.
The image is Banana Flower Pod by Joe Smith, 21 points, honorable mention. This image is called Beaver Marsh.
Ami says this is a lovely picture of the lady. Her face shows serenity and almost a smile of content. The background is a bit busy, but doesn't distract the eye from the subject. The lighting is a touch too subdued, and more brightness could increase the impact.
Beaver Marsh by Rick Mills, 18 points. This is Buckeye Tree in April.
Joe said, I like the detail, textures, and patterns you have caught here. The tones are very close. If this was a black and white image, you might lose the brown leaves. I'd try playing with the brightness or darkness of the greens in the background.
Buckeye Tree in April by Valdez Krebs, 19 points. This is called Chardon Cow.
This photo has a lot going for it, says Rob. The light is beautiful and perfectly exposed, which highlights the subject and makes her stand out from the background. The gesture of the cow looking into the camera adds a cute moment to the image.
Chardon Cow by John Paganini, 20 points. This one is called Chessboard.
Ami says, this is a very colorful photograph that captures lots of detail in great sharpness. The partially clouded sky only adds to the effect. No doubt the woman who tends to one of the statues not only blends in the scene, but adds a lot of the overall quality. This is only a tiny detail that should have been avoided. There is a modern building on the middle right side of the picture.
Chessboard by Richard Ader, 24 points, third place. This is Colorful Rubber Ducks.
Joe said very colorful images of rubber ducks and a great variety of them. I don't really see a focal point in the image. It's cropped in from both sides and the top, and then the masked duck would stand out.
Colorful Rubber Ducks by Glenn Petranek, 21 points, honorable mention. This is called Day at the Beach.
This is an excellent assembled image that doesn't feel like an assembled image, says Rob. Nice job putting this together in a way that doesn't seem contrived or fake.
Day at the Beach by Nancy Murniak, 26 points, first place. This is called Edgewater Infrared.
Ami says this is a high-impact photograph with great sharpness and strong colors. Due to the photographic manipulations, it looks like a drawing, but with the clearness of a photograph. There are a couple of artificially looking objects on the grass that slightly bother the eye. Most of them could be avoided by a slight change of the photographer's position to the right.
Edgewater Park Infrared by Glenn Petranek, 21 points, honorable mention. Fireworks Garden.
Joe said you did a good job of capturing or combining fireworks. I like the tree trunks on them. Looks like a landscape.
Fireworks Garden by Jill Zabka, 19 points. Fledgling.
Rob comments, this is a very cute bird, but the background is a bit distracting. If a different shooting position doesn't give you what you want, shooting with a wide aperture will blur the background and avoid distracting from the subject.
Fledgling by Jerry Pano, 18 points. Foxglove and Robin.
Ami says this is a lovely backyard photograph. It puts the viewer right in the middle of the scene, and I could almost hear the robins singing. The colors, position, and sharpness of the foreground are very well done, as well as the blurred background.
Foxglove and Robin by Susan Bestel, 19 points. Golf, Surf, and Sunset.
Joe said, I really like the wave you captured in the moment. I would crop in tighter, or that with the sun setting a bit to the left. I don't think you need all of the foreground or the sides.
Golf, Surf, and Sunset by Gary Wood, 19 points.
Rob comments, I would like to see a little more color in the background here. Something to either contrast the blue sky reflecting in the ice or similar tones to complement the blue.
Icicles with Drip by John Harford, 21 points, honorable mention. This is called Ledge Rock.
Ami says, I like the strong impact that this picture has. I also like the choice of colors, although I would personally prefer that they would be a bit brighter. I think that would add to the impact. The composition is also excellent, being off the center and causing the eye to move with the many leading lines.
Ledge Rock by Jill Zabka, 17 points. Next one is Marblehead Lighthouse Twisted Tree.
Joe said, I really like this capture of the tree. I like how you caught both the dying and living sides of it. The clouds work well too. I would like to see what it would look like if you lightened the sky on the right.
Marblehead Lighthouse Twisted Tree by Rick Mills, 21 points, honorable mention. My father, Albert, age 89.
Rob says, a different composition and/or crop would help this image seem more pictorial. The facial expression and centered composition combine to make the image feel unintentional rather than a well-considered portrait.
My father, Albert, age 89, by Melanie Plummer, 20 points. My father laughs.
Ami says this is an excellent portrait that radiates happiness. It captures both the fine facial lines of the man and the twinkle in his eye. The dark background and the muted colored shirt help focusing the attention on the subject.
My Father Laughs by Melanie Plummer, 19 points. Rose.
Joe said you did a good job of focusing and good color representation. Nice use of light, too. I think the square format is fine, but is cropped too close on the right side with too much room on the left.
Rose by Kenneth Hubble, 19 points.
Rob says, I am not usually drawn to overly processed images, but the blues and purples that came out in this image look really cool. This would look great on a black light poster.
Standing Tall by Joe DiStefano, 20 points. This is called Summer Fireworks.
Ami said, generally, it is a difficult task to photograph fireworks because one misses the movement and rapid change of scenery. Lack of colors, green, red, and yellow, may also reduce the impact. However, the reflection of the lights in the water was captured beautifully and would probably make an excellent picture by itself.
Summer Fireworks by Catherine Kengott, 20 points. It's called The Color of Music.
Joe said you have some good use of light here, but I would like to see the bottom of the guitar lighter. I'm not a big fan of the musical notes. If you are going to add them, you could make them more three-dimensional. Then they might work a bit better.
The Color of Music by Chris Bosworth, 17 points. The Look of Amazement.
Rob says, I like the combination of the octopus and the girl in the bubble. It would be nice to see a few more shots to find one where the octopus was more pleasingly framed.
The Look of Amazement by Joe DiStefano, 23 points, honorable mention. This is Tiger on the Prowl.
Ami says the animal's face is shown in great details and near perfect illumination. The low-medium light allows to show details in white and dark areas. It is a good picture of a mighty animal. Personally, I would like to see a bit more background so it would give the subject more room to breathe and make it slightly more natural, but may decrease the impact. Alternatively, cropping the picture even closer would increase the impact.
Tiger on the Prowl by Eric Botsky, 19 points. This is Touched by a Butterfly.
Joe said you did a good job of capturing a moment in time with this. Good shallow depth of field and capturing the little hand with the butterfly, not an easy thing to do. I would try to bring down the white on the hand and crop in a bit closer. I don't think you need so much of the arm.
The image is Touched by a Butterfly by Kim Bashaleski, 18 points. This is Vines on a Brick Wall.
Rob says, a shot like this can be more interesting with the addition of a moment or gesture. A person walking down the sidewalk or a car driving by can add movement and tension.
Vines on a Brick Wall, London, England by Eric Wethington, 20 points. Wolf in the Woods.
Ami said this is a very vivid photograph. I like the natural setting and especially the surrounding colors that brings forward the main subject. It is a well-executed photograph.
Wolf in the Woods by Jackie Sieski, 23 points, honorable mention. This is Yellow Daylily.
Joe said a dying daylily at night. I'm not a fan of the flash for this, as that shadows in the flower bother me. The right middle of the flower is a bit too hot also.
Yellow Daylily by Joseph Miko, 19 points. This is Nhinga.
According to Rob, when photographing wildlife, it is important, when possible, to watch the edges of your frame. Cutting off the tips of wings and tails makes a photo look less intentional and more like a snapshot.
Nhinga by Maria Diaconou, 19 points. This is Caracara in the Rain.
Ami said this is a view of a humble-looking crested caracara that lost its crest due to the pouring rain. I'm glad that the bird's beautiful colors and sharp details were not washed out. The subject is very clear, nicely framed, and the background is perfect.
Caracara in the Rain by Marge Brady, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Colorful Falls.
Joe said, a good capture of colors and water at night. I like how you brought so much out, although I like that the bush is in focus. I would like to see that focus elsewhere.
Colorful Falls by Margot Wethington, 20 points. This is East Harbor, Gracie Lou.
Rob says, remember that shadows are important in a photo. They provide contrast and often depth. By increasing the exposure in the foreground grass, the photographer misses an opportunity to create depth through alternating areas of dark and light in the image.
East Harbor, Gracie Lou by Gary Merrick, 19 points. This is Green Heron.
Ami says this photograph is full of suspense. It is an action waiting to happen. Sharpness is very good, and cropping allows the viewer to see the environment where the egret hunts.
Green Heron by Dave Saborik, 19 points. Lending a Hand.
Joe said, it's a hard moment to capture, and I like the idea of the age differences. I wish you had not cropped this one so close and gave a little more thought to the background. Just moving over a bit would have gotten the butterfly on the white fence instead of where some plants are. I recognize that in the moment, that is hard to do.
This is Lending a Hand by Kim Bashaleski, 20 points. Lobster Morning.
Rob says, sometimes little things make the difference between a good photo and a great one. Both sides of this frame have a piece of a boat sticking into the frame. Cropping those out would make this image feel much more intentional.
Lobster Morning by Catherine Kengat, 20 points. This is Moo.
Ami says, a very interesting capture of innocence on the calf's face. A good technical execution and getting the right moment for the touch of pink. All gives it an atmosphere of serenity.
This is Moo by David Korosek, 21 points, honorable mention. This is Moon over Holden.
Joe said, you really have a really good and detailed image of the moon. You must have some very interesting equipment.
Moon over Holden by John Paganini, 18 points. This is Orchid Display.
The color and composition here are very interesting, says Rob. It would be nice if the lighting and exposure helped to showcase the shape and texture of the flower petal a bit more.
Orchid Display by John Harford, 21 points, honorable mention. This is Proud Pelican.
Ami says proud pelicans can look very serious, as this one does. I'm impressed by the great level of detail on the bird's feathers. The completely calm water and cloudy skies add to bring forward the subject.
Proud Pelican by Mike Kopkis, 22 points, honorable mention. This is Reverend of the Boomer generation.
Joe said, "This is a good portrait. Since you control your lighting, I would suggest getting some more backlighting above his head and some fill on the jacket. There is also a very hot light line down his nose, and the foreground could be brought down some. I also think the focus should be tighter. Probably not things the subject will notice, though."
Reverend of the Boomer generation by Melanie Plummer, 20 points. This is called Rose.
Rob says, I would consider this more of a commercial image than pictorial, but the composition was done well and the colors are nice. It might have been fun to add a stem visible through the glass.
Rose by Rich Foley, 21 points, honorable mention. This is Sunset at Bass Harbor Lighthouse.
Ami says great colors and sharpness are the first two qualities that came to my mind. I also like the complexity and depth of the picture. If you cut the picture by half, roughly at the center, you'll have two excellent pictures.
This is called Sunset at Bass Harbor Lighthouse by David Grimmer, 25 points, second place. Sunset Sea Lion.
Joe said, "Interesting light can capture the water splashing around the seal. I don't think we see enough of the seal, though."
Sunset Sea Lion by Bill Keaton, 19 points. It's called The Coast.
Rob's comment, the light on the iconic shoreline is wonderful, but the gray sky looks a bit gloomy. Photography is often about leaving out elements that don't make the photo better and zeroing in on the best part of a scene.
The Coast by Randy Johns, 21 points, honorable mention. The Most Colorful Bird in America.
Ami says this photograph successfully shows all the colors of this painted bunting. I like the fact that the colors are not too bright and show the beautiful disposition of the bird without exaggerating.
The Most Colorful Bird in America by Bob Kowaleski, 22 points, honorable mention. Venus of Erie.
Joe said, "This is a beautiful piece of wood, very figure-like. I would like to see more of it on the bottom, and maybe some of the shadow, too. Maybe would have liked seeing it in a shallower depth of field."
Venus of Erie by Jerry Pano, 20 points. Wall of Hearts.
Rob says this image would make an interesting large print so that the texture of the wall would be more prominent. This is the kind of shot a designer would love to use to add a splash of color to an interior.
Wall of Hearts by Jane Sidney, 17 points. We have Liftoff.
Ami says this work is full of action. This was taken at the perfect moment as the bird takes off. In spite of the rapid moment, the subject is in almost perfect sharpness. The muted background is also helpful in increasing the impact of the photograph.
We have Liftoff by Belinda Prince, 24 points, third place. Weathered Barn.
Joe said, "You have found a very cool decaying barn. I like how you use the light without losing the shadows. The only thing I might do is take out the electric line and street sign."
Weathered Barn by Brian O'Riordan, 21 points, honorable mention. Wendy Park Departure.
Rob comments, good idea to include the dock in the foreground. That static element creates depth along with the ship in the middle ground and the sky in the background.
Wendy Park Departure by Rick Mills, 20 points. Window Performers.
Ami says this photograph is full of expression and movement. The soft lighting is excellent, and so is the composition of the work. The picture could be straightened a bit. The left side is a touch higher than the right, but it is not a major point.
Window Performers by Paul Giglia, 22 points, honorable mention. And that concludes the competition.
Thank you all very much for one, submitting your work and for attending. And we hope to see you next weekend for the forum. So again, thank you very much.